Well, good afternoon, HSBC Premier Suite. Is everyone in good voice? Good afternoon. Good stuff. Listen, we are about to have a rather entertaining half an hour with your help, because we've got our rugby ambassadors who are coming up here to answer your questions. It's their last bit of business for the entire weekend. So traditionally, this is the Q&A session where the wheels well and truly come off, okay? So get your questions ready. We're going to have a bit of a fun with the boys, as of course we try and, well, add a little something extra to your rugby, enjoyment of the rugby this afternoon. Just to let you know, on main page now, we've got the invitational final joining Jack, along with the likes of Mark Cueto and Jason Robinson, are taking on the J9 Legends. So we'll try and keep you updated with scores on that one throughout proceedings. We are live as well. See the boys up there? Give them a wave. You're live on Facebook at the moment. It's Facebook Live all around the world. So people are tuning into that and being very, very jealous of you sat down here in the sun, enjoying a couple of drinks courtesy of our friends at HSBC who are hosting you here this afternoon. Please join me in saying a big thank you to HSB. Thank you, HSBC. And now we get ready to welcome our two rugby ambassadors. Not before, though, I've asked you to get involved online. If you are posting any social media, use the hashtag. It's up there for all to see. Hashtag HSBC7s. And also use the handle. It's at HSBC_sport. We've got Reese, who's going to be playing us through to the wee small hours up on the wheels of steel a little later on. But time to turn our attention to all things rugby. Have a look at the screen as we get ready to welcome the ambassadors. We start with a man who was last year shortlisted for World Rugby's Coach of the Year. Why? Because he's been there, done that when it comes to coaching. He is the only men's Rugby Sevens coach with continental, world and Olympic titles under his belt. He is the man who was able to mastermind the extraordinary success of not just England Sevens but Fiji Sevens in recent years. Back-to-back World Series titles, and who can forget Fiji at the Rio Olympics gold medalist, thanks in no small part to the one and only Ben Ryan. Ben, good to have you with us, and Ben's sparring partner. Do we have any Irish with us? Any Irish in the crowd? A couple of Irish, we're in good voice, good stuff, because we got one of the best, not just a faithful Irish servant, but one of the greatest rugby players of all time. The former captain of Leinster, Ireland, and the British and Irish Lions. Six Nations record try scorer, second most cap player in rugby history, three-time Six Nations player of the tournament, highest scoring centre of all time, Rugby World's player of the decade. Please welcome Brian O'Driscoll! Fellas, it's been a long old journey, and we're down to the last 29 minutes of each other's company and presence. So, something of a relief, is it, Ben? Are we good?
It's good to be back in the ginger sun trap, isn't it? Thank you.
I like Ben's tactic. You get the ginger in straight away. It's the first thing, isn't it?
You can't abuse them about it then. You abuse it yourself, you know. Yeah. Clever.
Listen, let's get your little reactions on what has been an extraordinary couple of days of rugby. Sevens is back. It's back with a bang as well, Brian.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. You know, I've seen it's terrible. You come to Dubai, and I've watched most of it on the TV. I haven't seen a whole lot of live stuff yet, so I can't wait to see the semi-finals and the finals. Saw the women's final yesterday. I have to say I love the fact that men's, women's, veterans are all together. I think it adds to the atmosphere. And the fact that this is that this is the first series event as well. We've been waiting 6 months for it, so we've seen some outstanding stuff, and we're going to see some more great stuff in the next few hours.
Has it been vintage, Ben Ryan?
It's actually been really good. Those 4 quarterfinals were outstanding. I couldn't call the England-Australia one. Went down to the wire. The mighty Dan Norton was the point of difference in that game. And the semi-finals now, South Africa, methodical, full of brimming with talent against the effervescent Fijians. And then we've got what's an amazing, has provided some amazing memories over the last 10 years here, England-New Zealand semi-final. Could go, all 4 of those teams could win later tonight. So, yeah, some great rugby.
Obviously, we know that New Zealand have been very dominant in the 15s code in recent times. Few chinks in the armour at the moment. In terms of 7s, though, beatable at present, New Zealand going through something of a transition?
Yep. Look, New Zealand have been pretty poor for the last 3 years, really. In their terms, in All Black Sevens terms, they looked very powerful last night, but I thought Kenya were super unlucky not to beat them this morning. And those 11 o'clock quarter-final games can trip you up. They've come through it now, so it's going to be the size and power of New Zealand versus the footwork of Tom Mitchell and the speed of Dan Norton. So it's going to be a great game, and both those teams are playing really well.
Brian,
are you able to call the 7s team the All Blacks? Are there any Kiwis? Yeah. Is it specifically reserved for your 15s, the All Blacks, or is it All Black 7s too?
No, they've changed it to 7s as well.
7s is, apparently, Ben Ryan tells me. I couldn't really hear that, but thank you for the twirl.
Right, you've had the opportunity to captain numerous teams and tour just about every corner of the globe. What's New Zealand like to tour? Because we often hear about the sort of culture of rugby, the religion that is rugby down in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's hard. Hard to very hard. I played, I think I played against New Zealand 14 or 15 times. I was on the wrong side of the result 14 or 15 times. And then the first time that Ireland play against the All Blacks, when I retired, they go and beat them. Nice one, lads. I was delighted for that victory. Well done. Who'd have known that Paul O'Connell and myself were holding back the team all those years? But it's undoubtedly the hardest place in the world to tour. Their record in Eden Park, they haven't been beaten there since '92. So what the Lions actually went down and get a drawn series is quite a remarkable achievement against a team that's probably, by their standards, in transition a bit, but it's okay to be in transition halfway through a World Cup cycle. The time to peak is in 2 years' time, and they'll undoubtedly do that as well.
Big year for 7s, Ben. We've got obviously plenty to look forward to on the horizon. Commonwealth Games just around the corner, and then a World Cup of 7s as well. In San Francisco, is it going to work?
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. Look, the Americans weren't great yesterday, but they are a power coming through the World Series. And to play it in San Fran, the Golden State Warriors and everyone else, the success they've had there in Southern California. So, yeah, we need to spread the game. It's hard to replicate this sort of standard tournament around the world. Dubai do it uniquely, brilliantly on all the other outside pitches. But if we can have a World Cup with the men's and women's together that can get the Americans going, then it's only going to be a good thing.
You've been asked several times over the last couple of days, Brian, about the funding for Ireland 7s. We understand that it's back into the mould at the moment. The wheels are in motion. So, possibility of a World Cup of 7s in Ireland in years to come?
Yeah, well, we can't get a 15s World Cup, so we might as well go for the 7s. Do you know what? It's weird. The men's and women's, it's flipped. All the focus and the funding has been going into the 15s and men's, and now it looks as though a large part of the funding is going into the 7s and the women's. They've been here today. They had a great win against, or this weekend, they had a great win against South Africa yesterday. But listen, 7s and 15s are able to live side by side. They can feed one another. But the greatest compliment I can give to 7s is in advance of the Olympics 2 years ago, how few 15s players could make that leap of faith across and play for their national team, thinking, yeah, I'll give sevens an old go. I wouldn't mind picking myself up an old Olympic medal. And Sonny Bill Williams was the only one that managed to do it. So it's these are supreme athletes. I was lucky enough to train with the England sevens team 6 weeks ago. Lucky enough and foolish enough to do it. And these guys are absolute freaks. Like, they get paid less money than 15s, and basically they do what we did for pre-season all year round. Why? What are you thinking? Every session is appalling. These it's satanic in their thinking as to how they want to torture themselves and push themselves. So, you know, if ever people deserve greater funding, it's definitely the sevens players.
We've talked a lot about the athletic ability of sevens players, Ben, in recent times and in recent days as well. I mean, of all the players that you've coached, has there ever been a bad one in terms of fitness and ability, or is it just the case that in order to play sevens, you've got to be uniquely fit?
I've had plenty of excuses that players have used to disappear from a training session. Jerry Tuwai, the Fijian captain, used to hide in a bush. He had a favourite bush at the training ground.
It didn't have to be very tall bush either. He's only about that height.
It kept rustling though, and so that gave it away a little bit. I had another Fijian that actually said he was possessed, so we had to get an ambulance for him, and that got him off the bleep test. Dan Norton would have every excuse, but then, as we've talked about previously, his GPS statistics were amazing, and it wasn't for 12 months that I realised he was driving around the car park. So you can get around the fitness test, I guess, in different ways, but ultimately on the field out there, you know, you've got to keep going, effort on effort. You've got to work tirelessly, and those guys, yeah, you get them as a coach. You get them in this sort of delicious envelope where you're doing these anaerobic sprints with very little recovery, where the lactate's flooding you up until here, and then you get at least maybe one to throw up in the session. That's, you know, I really enjoyed that. I loved that. Yeah.
It's getting darker and darker, isn't it?
What does that tell you about me? I don't know.
Look, we're going to get some questions from the call. We've got a full crowd in today. Got any questions for the guys? Raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. Don't be shy, otherwise it's early bath time for us all. So, question down the front.
This one goes to Mr. Brian O'Driscoll. That's you, Mr. So, Brian, we've had the pleasure of following your illustrious career over the vast number of years that you've been playing. And we've had the pleasure of seeing you at the sevens in Dubai for the last 3 years. But my question is, when are you going to give one of the other Irish lads a chance? When are they going to come? O'Gara has got loads of time on his hands.
You're telling me you're bored of me peddling out the same stuff. Is that what I'm to read into here?
Well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I mean, you know, from one Irishman to another, Brian. You know, come on, let's get the other guys a chance.
We're missing a good Ulster man here, aren't we?
Rory Best is too busy at the minute. Don't take him off.
That's true. No, do you know what? As soon as I go home now on Tuesday, I'll certainly spread the word and see if anyone's interested in replacing me next year. Okay?
They don't want that, Brian. They don't want that.
We love you,
Who
Brian.
loves Brian O'Driscoll? Come on, make him feel loved. Come on. Question.
Not your man from Ulster, doesn't.
Hi guys, this is a question for both of you, I guess. Six Nations round the corner. Any predictions?
Well, we talked about this earlier. There's so many. I can comfortably predict that I don't think it's going to be a Grand Slam winning season for Italy this year. They won't be. We've talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah,
we've decided
Ben's been doing some work with France, so it's fair to say they're not going to feature very heavily.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
So listen, I do think it's between the other sides. I think the emergence of Scotland has been brilliant. Breath of fresh air. They've vanished for far too long, and they need to get back and be a force to be reckoned with, particularly in Murrayfield. I think they have England in Murrayfield pretty early on. So we'll see what Eddie Jones's boys are made of up there. I think Ireland are in great shape at the moment. Maybe not the most entertaining team in the world to watch, but incredibly effective and so well drilled. And then and England, you know, are, again, a bit similarly to New Zealand, they're building nicely. They're worried to a degree about Six Nations, but it's really about World Cup. It's about stepping stones to try and achieve that elusive second World Cup win. So we're in for, you know, Six Nations is such a brilliant tournament because it is bloody hard to win 5 games. I should know, Ireland have only ever won 2 Grand Slams, and we won one by the skin of our teeth in 2009, so should make for great viewing.
Got another question over here. Yes.
Question for both of you. If there was going to be a movie done of your lives, who would you get to play you?
It's funny you should say that.
Johnny Vegas.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite for me, probably, if you've seen him. We've actually got a film coming out for Fiji, so there will be someone playing me. Very short list of ginger actors, though, aren't there? Very excited, red-headed actors around the world, hoping they might be employed for a short period of time.
Yeah, it's that one where you want it to be Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's more likely to be Leonardo da Vinci, isn't it? Yeah, you always have higher opinion of yourself than the whole world. Well, certainly I find that to be the case.
You got a film coming out about Fiji at the Olympics. You got a book coming out as well, Ben. Busy.
Yes.
Good. Okay. I was just going to try and get you a couple of pre-sales there, but sod it. Right, let's get down here.
Hi there. My name's Giles. I just want to say, fantastic to see both Ben and Brian here. Funny enough for me today, Ben, in fact, taught me at school how to kick a rugby ball, and I had no idea I was seeing him today. And some 17 years later, watching his brilliance and coaching has been fantastic. My question, though, to both of you, Brian and Ben, who is the most difficult person you have ever tackled on a rugby pitch?
Mine's an easy one. I was playing against Samoa, and I had Inga, the winger, Tuinga Mala. And the following morning, after a few beers, I was telling everybody that I had made a tackle against him, and in the back of the Times, there was a picture of me and Inga, and I said, I told you. And then they just showed me the newspaper, the Telegraph, where he'd walked straight over on me. So, yeah, he was a pretty impossible man to bring down.
Yeah, and the late great for me, Jonah Lomu, who changed the face of our game forever. You know, from amateur through to professional in '95. I was lucky enough and unlucky enough to play against him twice. And the thing is, you know, if you were left one-on-one with him, he was going to beat you. And it's pretty grim in the lead up to that sort of thing happening. I got isolated a couple of times, and I knew exactly what play the All Blacks were going to do. It was going to be, you know, Mertens to Major, and then behind probably Tana at 13 to Jonah coming off as blind wing, and I could read it. It's all well and good when you're 5'10" and 14 stone reading it, but when Jonah Lomu was the guy getting the ball, I was true to my word. I gave it my all, but sure enough, he ran over the top of me. I was like, I knew that guy would score if he got it one-on-one against me. So he was impossible to defend. You needed 2, 3, and sometimes 4, and even that wasn't always enough. Just ask Tony Underwood.
Brian, you've put some big hits in during your time. You've taken a few as well. I doubt there's ever been a time on an international rugby field that you've been tackled by a Viking, though. Have you, Ben Ryan? Is that right that you've been tackled by a Viking?
Yes, I was tackled by a Viking at Twickenham once. 79,000 people. It was live on BBC. I was about to do a box kick. Someone came and cleared me out, and I looked up, and he had a hat on with some horns. He's a Viking. Again, not wanting to egg it, but he was part of a faction that was anti-people of my colour. Yeah, gave me I tell you what, to get a hematoma from one of those horns.
I think that's all the population, no?
Yeah, that's... there's many embarrassing things happen to me, yeah. None of... yeah.
We've got plenty of time. Got another question here.
Good afternoon, lads. You mentioned Scotland's long overdue renaissance. What about Gregor Townsend from a coach's point of view and a player's point of view? What do you think of Tooney? Because I think he's a majestic player and he's taken a lot of learning into the coaching setup. Yeah,
look, I couldn't agree more. Gregor's a world-class coach, got the best out of Glasgow, getting the best out of Scotland. You can see the players love the way he wants the team to play, and he's been a big part of what they've done at the moment and what they'll do in the Six Nations.
Yeah, it's just a continuation of the way he was as a player. You know, when you look back to that '97 Lions team, you know, was he a kicking fly half? Not in the slightest. He wanted to play ball. He wanted to, you know, be an offloading out half and someone that, you know, kept the ball alive and entertained the crowds. And I think you've seen that in his Scotland team in the last 6 months. He's got 2 victories against Australia in his first 6 months, which is pretty impressive. But obviously, I hope he falls massively on his face, because Ireland have Scotland in the pool in Japan in 2 years' time. So here's hoping he's peaked already.
Questions over here.
If you could add anywhere in the world to the 7 series, where would it be?
Dublin, but they'll never give us it. They won't give us anything in Ireland.
Oh man, just somewhere cold, so I don't have to apply sunscreen. I don't know. So
I don't know. They've got a lot of the really hot spots covered. Do you know what? New York. I like a bit of New York. You know, throw something in the mix. Then you'd have to feel as though the rugby would fall off a little bit, because, you know, similarly to Vegas, the partying's pretty good there. But I think they've got lots of corners of the world, you know, ticked with Paris, London, you know, and now Singapore, Vancouver. Love Vancouver. Anyone that hasn't been there, get to Vancouver. It's an unbelievable city, and you know, the people are great too. So I think World Rugby and HSBC are doing a great job on the venues that they've selected thus far.
I think there's a new one this year as well, isn't there? Not new as in country, but Hamilton taking over from Wellington down in New Zealand this year?
yeah, brilliant. And Wellington was a disaster the last few years. No one was turning up, and now Hamilton's a sellout, and it's going to be a really, really good leg of the series with Sydney, which has gone crazy the last couple of years. So yeah, we've almost got it right, haven't we, for the series, the tournaments?
It's funny though when you mention Hamilton, and it's only the Kiwis that are actually laughing about Hamilton, because I don't know if it quite fits in with Paris, London, Sydney. We'll see next year. We'll see next year. But it's brilliant that it has sold out. You know, rugby is so synonymous with New Zealand that you need a big tournament down there.
Question over here.
Hi, Brian, the residency rule. How do you feel about Bundy Aki playing for Ireland? Is he taking other Irish players' opportunities, or is he showing us what he has?
Yeah, it's funny. If you asked me 3 weeks ago, you know, can you believe Bundy Aki coming in, you know, residency 3 years, and he's going to get an opportunity to play for Ireland? Plays twice for Ireland. Bundy is one of us. Bundy is unbelievable. We would not be able to survive without Bundy Aki. I have to say, you know, it was always there. You know, anyone that's a resident, not just Bundy. There's CJ Stander, there's Jared Payne. There's lots of players that have qualified under the residency rule. And the thing is, they just need to play one game, and they're taken in as our own. It's nothing to do with, you know, race, creed, or anything else. It's just that, you know, I think personally that 3 years is too short. World Rugby agrees, and now it's been pushed out to 5. But now that they're signed up for Ireland, Bundy Aki is going to be such an asset, and there's every chance that he might keep a born and bred Irish player out of the team. But at this point, if Ireland are better for it and gives us an opportunity to get into a World Cup semi-final that we've never done before, I'll take Bundy Aki.
Not alone. Hadley Parks plays today for Wales, doesn't he? I think he got a residency yesterday in Wales. The New Zealander will turn out for them later on.
Thanks. Just a question for Brian, really. What's the worst kangaroo court punishment you've ever had, and what did you get it for?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe rooming with Gavin Henson. No, the thing about rooming with Gav Henson is if you didn't get into the toilet before 9 o'clock in the morning, you didn't get in there till 2 in the afternoon, because the full body shave, the full leg wax, the full moisturising and Saint-Tropez application, that is not a short process. So you have to you've got to get your wee done nice and early in the morning when you're rooming with Gav.
Got another question down here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, post-Lions tour, do you think the criticism of Gatland, both from a captain and coach's perspective, is fair?
No.
No.
He got the job done. He won a series in Australia 4 years ago. Probably that should have been a 3-0 series win. And this one, to get a draw against that All Black side, you know, 2-time World Cup winners, is a phenomenal achievement. I think from my perspective, the only disappointment that I saw with Gats, and I said it openly, was that when he brought in the Geography 6, these 6 players from Scotland and Wales, to bolster the squad, it felt as though he succumbed to the pressure of the media of not wanting to play them. I said, back yourself with your decision. If you're going to bring those players in, at least play them and give the players that are on the tour the opportunity to rest at times, to give themselves the best opportunity to play in the test match. I just felt he did it sort of half-hearted. He brought them in because he needed extra numbers, but then listened to what was said in the media and didn't play them, didn't give cheap Lions caps. So do one or the other.
More questions from the floor. Who's got a question for the boys? Question over there, down the front. Just going to get over. Yes, sir, over to you.
Hi, fellas. A question for you both, I guess, and that is, if you had the chance to relive just one moment on the pitch, what would it be and why?
Well, for me, I had a very brief Premiership career, and it would have been nice when I got past the ball if I didn't hear everyone go, oh. That would have been nice.
I don't know. One moment. I suppose that sense of feeling with the final whistle in 2009 when Ireland won their second ever Grand Slam, just the sense of relief after such a long wait and finishing second in the Six Nations for 5 years in the 2000s. So for a player, I think you judge yourself on what you've won, and to know that no one could take away one Grand Slam that you'd won was a huge huge feeling of relief first and foremost. And I look back to that moment, and I probably should have celebrated a little bit better than that. That's pathetic.
In terms of the most unforgiving fans to play in front of, yeah, we all know home games are great in the atmosphere there, but from a player's point of view, from a coach's point of view, who are the most unforgiving, the nastiest fans to play in front of?
Facebook Live still, yeah.
Give them a wave, there they are, there.
I mean,
thankless at times.
I got abused by a priest in South Wales once, and that I should rephrase that.
I thought this was a rugby conversation.
Not you as well.
That was an interesting afternoon. And look, I got told as Fiji coach, if you ever lost a tournament, don't bother coming home, because previous Fiji coaches has had their houses stoned. But luckily it worked out for me. But yeah, it's probably the priest.
Just gonna leave it there.
I don't know. I think most supporters can hurl plenty of tasty abuse at you. The later the games, the tastier it gets. But I used to always love going down to Thomond Park in Munster because not only were you playing against one of the best teams in Europe, but you were playing in one of the most hostile environments against one of the most vocal groups of fans, and they've been the envy of Europe and of Ireland for years, and I suppose they continue to be because of their loyalty to their team. So I always liked when we beat them down in Thomond Park, which thankfully happened a few times.
Any Munster fans in? We've got any Munster fans here? Couple, okay. They're a good voice. Let's get some more questions. Who's got a question for the team? Another one here? Yes, sir?
We're seeing a lot of struggle with the Pacific nations, especially recently with Samoa. In your opinion, what do you think could help fix the problem?
Two things. We need the boys in the Pacific to actually play professional rugby on the island, so we need effectively a Super Rugby franchise there as soon as possible. And then they need to sort their own houses in order. They can't keep moaning at other people. The Fijian, Samoan rugby unions, having worked that side of the world, there's a lot of stuff they don't do very well that they need to improve upon, so that last year Fiji had a player playing that lost in the final that was unemployed and homeless, and he was playing international rugby sevens for Fiji, the Olympic gold champions. Now that's just not acceptable, and so the union need to sort things out. And the top Fijian players are paid £4,000 a year in their salaries. The guys that are out there, Jerry Tuai, the captain of the Fiji team, that's all he'll earn this year. They need to sort that out. There's money available, it doesn't always reach the players.
Another question here.
Okay. The IRB Sevens is a breeding ground for the next generation of the international rugby players. So last year, Scotland absolutely played terrible in the first half of the season. They came through, they won in London, sorry, but we beat England in the final.
Again.
In London, right? But what's the motivation? What's the drive? What makes them? What makes these kids tick? What makes these kids have?
You've used your 6 beer tokens already, haven't you?
Oh no, no. What makes these kids go to the next level?
Well, I know it's a brilliant development tool because you've got, I mean, look at the number 1 team in the world, the All Blacks. They have the most amount of sevens graduates in their current All Blacks starting 15, nearly their entire backline. So for players to get used to travelling around the world to play at high-level international rugby, it's a hard to beat. But now we're getting these specialist sevens players that are just playing sevens, want to win Commonwealth, Olympic gold medals. So we're seeing a bit of a split. There's still room for both. People like Sonny Bill has shown that. Siobela Salatla, that's playing for South Africa, and Quagga Smith both played Super Rugby this season as well. So it can be done. You can flip between them. But yeah, it's a tremendous vehicle for development as well as performance.
Right, we've got time for just a couple more before the boys sign off. Yes, madam.
Hello. I would like to know what you want for Christmas.
Whoa. If I could pick anything, I don't know if you've seen those booster boards, that the battery operated booster boards. They're about 1,100 quid. So if you're offering, I'll take one of them, no problem. But yeah, if I was to pick something, I'm going to go with that. I'm definitely not going to get it, but I'll wish for it.
Ben?
I just want peace on earth, Tom.
Oh, of course you do, yeah. Yeah, and a box set of suits or something like that.
Yeah, some chocolate.
Let's go over here.
Hi guys, royal wedding next year. Are you on Mike Tyndall's list?
I'm not.
I don't know if Mike Tyndall is going to that one, to be honest with you. No, I don't think we'll make the cut for that. I actually did get invited to William and Kate's wedding, but had training, so I couldn't go. But my wife went, and she had a great time. But she obviously went to the ceremony. And there was different versions of the day. So there was about 1,200 or 1,300 people at the church. Is it St. Paul's? Yeah. St. Paul's, so...
The big one.
Yeah, that one. I'm very holy, me. So she was in there. So anyway, when they left the church, like, then you're just another number. So anyway, later on, she went up to a friend's apartment, which actually looks down onto Buckingham Palace. So when William and Kate went and drove the car out, there was about 10 of them squeezed into the toilet trying to look out a window. And her friend turned to us and said, "Geez, you were a bit of a queen yourself an hour and a half ago, and now look, you're in a Jack's with 10 other people trying to sneak a peek at the future queen and princess of England." So it was quite the come down.
Listen, probably got time for one more. If there is anyone out there that would like to ask this question, boys are going to stick around for pretty. I've just been buzzed because we do have South Wales Police waiting outside. They want to have a quick word with Ben afterwards about some scurrilous accusations that he's made on Facebook Live this afternoon. Sorry, guys. But one final one before we wrap things up and turn our back on each other for another 12 months, gentlemen. In terms of all the teams out there at the moment, doesn't have to be rugby, just teams, sporting teams. If you could walk into the management or the coaching role of any team in the world at the moment, tomorrow, which one would it be?
I would be head coach of the Real Madrid football team.
Really?
Yeah, no. Yes.
I don't know. It's I suppose maybe you jump into the Fijian coaching role, because handy enough to just coach them and bring them to an Olympic gold medal. So yeah, I'd love to get my face on a $7 note and a 50-cent piece, as some other ginge beside me has. So yeah, I'd maybe go with them. It's a handy enough gold medal, isn't it?
Ben, I mean, looks like we started with Ginge, looks like we're going to finish with Ginge as well. Are you happy with this? It was the first comment of the weekend. It looks like it's going to be the final.
I'm over the moon that we've managed to try to spread the word that we're equal amongst everybody else. Just treat us as everyone else. That's all I'm asking for.
Gentlemen,
just give us a chance.
Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, not just this afternoon, but throughout the entire weekend. I'm sure everyone here at the HSBC Premier Seat will agree. If you would like something signed, over here now. But for now, put your hands together for Ben and Brian. So the boys are doing signings down here at the moment, taking photos. If you'd like to get something signed, head on down here just to the left of the stage. Do stick around with us here at the HSBC Premier Suite. We've got more rugby coming your way in just a little while. Thank you very much indeed for being part of it. We've got Reece up there on the wheels of steel. Reece's going to be keeping you entertained and keeping you moving throughout the remainder of the afternoon. To Facebook Live, thank you very much indeed for being with us today. Make sure you get down to the HSBC World Series 7s down here in Dubai next year. But for now, enjoy the rest of the afternoon.